I feel like in every single video I'm just wearing some Disney sweatshirt because that's just my brand now. It's fine. Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I am here. I say this every time. I'm always here with an exciting video. My entire channel is exciting. Please subscribe. But today I'm going to be talking about something that I think would be very helpful for anyone who's doing the Disney College Program or Disney Cultural Exchange Program or Disney Cultural Representation Program. If you're going to be living on Disney housing, this is the video for you. So if you do not know, in my last program I lived at Vista. I do have a video that I will link up here that was going into my apartment and getting my housing assignment and all my roommates and things like that. So definitely check that out. That's just an empty Vista Way 3-bedroom 6-person apartment. I really liked living there. I would definitely live in Vista again. I am leaning towards Vista for going back this year, but I'm not sure. But I have been in other complexes. I think, yeah, I've been in every complex. The only one that I haven't been inside of an apartment, I think, is Patterson. But I've been to like all the different complexes because we just had to for different housing things as internationals. So I did that. I've also watched a lot of videos of people's apartment tours, and I kind of compiled a list of pros and cons for every different apartment complex to give them to you here to kind of give you an idea of them. I will also below link a apartment tour to all of the complexes. They won't necessarily be the same type of building. One might be a 5-person 2-bedroom, one might be a 3-person, nope, 6-person 3-bedroom, but I'll try to link them all below so you kind of get an idea from other people that lived in those complexes. So I'm also going to mention the pricing. The pricing that I'm mentioning here is the January 2019 housing pricing for the Disney College Program. So if you're watching this for a 2020 program or something like that, the prices probably have raised because Disney like really likes to raise the prices of rent but not give us raises and never renovate them, but it's okay. So I'm going to start off with Vista Way. Like I said, that's where I lived. I was in a 6-person 3-bedroom. Last year we paid $103, but this year it is $111 for a 6-person and then $120 for a 4-person. Number one perk, obviously, of living at Vista is that it is the cheapest. I think the next cheapest apartment is still $10 a week more. Chatham has a $112, so only $1 more a week, but we'll go into why it's cheap in a second. The other housing complexes like Patterson is still $10 more, and Commons, the cheapest apartment, is almost $20 more than Vista. So it is the cheapest, but it is the cheapest because it is the oldest, but we'll talk about that in the cons. Vista is the main bus hub for housing. So if you're someone that has a car, you probably don't need to live in Vista, honestly. Obviously it depends on the other pros and cons, but a lot of people who are American DCP applicants and they drive down with their cars, they don't care to live in Vista because it is an older unit. But if you are not driving and you're taking the bus and you're relying on Disney transportation, Vista is the best. Especially for me, when I worked early morning parking shifts, I had to be at work by 7, so I was catching a bus by 6, and Vista is the start of all the routes, which is great because it'll almost always be on time if you're not during a busy time of the day. So if the bus left Vista at 6 a.m., it would always leave Vista at exactly 6 a.m. if it was in the first, like, probably about 5 bus routes of the day. Hi, you want to be a part of the video? She could have just walked not on my lap to get over there, but okay. So the bus that I took to work would go Vista, Commons, Chatham, Typhoon Springs, Casting, then back to Vista. And because I was the first stop, the bus was pretty much always on time unless it was way later in the day and something had gone wrong. Where if you're one of the other housing complexes and you're in the middle of the route, if something happened between Vista and Chatham, say, or something happened, I don't know, yeah, something happened between like Vista and Chatham, your bus might be late, not on the wrong time, but every single bus goes to Vista, and I generally had them come on time. The buses and the price are the 2 big ones at Vista. Also, there are no bunk beds. I believe every other housing complex has an option of bunk beds. It might not be all the options. I think condoms, no. I think Commons only has one option that has bunk beds, which I'll talk about when I talk about Commons, but there's absolutely no bunk beds in Vista. The only 2 options are a 6-person 3-bedroom and a 4-person 2-bedroom. Directly outside of the complex, like literally a 2-minute walk, you had a Walgreens, a gas station, and a Wendy's, and then probably like less than a 5-minute walk there was a Chick-fil-A. I really liked having a Walgreens because sometimes it would be like late at night and I'd be like, I want ice cream, I want a soda, you know, I want chips. You could just walk to Walgreens and be in and out in like less than 5 minutes. You don't have to cross any main highways. Getting to Walgreens is super fast and relatively safe, so I found that really handy. Also, Fun fact, if you order something at the Wendy's outside of Vista and show your Blue ID, they'll give you a small junior-sized Frosty. So you go get you a free Frosty. It is also very, very close to Disney Springs. So if you are someone that's driving and you want to go to Springs, or you want to park at Springs and go to one of the resorts with the Disney buses, it's very, very close to Springs. If you look at a map, pretty much all the housing complexes are up here, and then Vista's down here, and Disney Springs is right across the road. Because Vista's the main hub for all the buses stop inside, not outside, which is really handy. And I found it was pretty spacious. The living room was really big. The kitchen wasn't huge, which you can see in my video, but the living room was really big, and I really enjoyed that. The Cons says the oldest building was one of the original Disney College Program housing, so it is really old. Some people find if they're ground level, they have problems with bugs and roaches. We had like one like tiny little cockroach once, and it was not a big deal. I literally just like put it in a cup and took it outside. But some people say they have bugs. Some people say that there's like really sloppy paint jobs, which like honestly there is. But I found it's like every single apartment that was built like prior to 1980. The main thing that people talk about Vista is the party reputation, which like honestly I never saw ever. Yes, some people would do stupid things like throw their shoes in the lakes, and like we had a bomb threat on my program, but that's a whole different story. But I like never saw anyone outside really. It was never loud at night. I ran into like 2 drunk people ever, but that's just like any place I feel like. So I don't know. I found no parties in Vistas, but a lot of people found that Vista had a really bad reputation. They didn't want to be connected to that. And then with the old buildings, they just felt like it was like gross, I guess. It doesn't have laundry. None of the complexes have laundry except for Commons. So it doesn't have laundry, but it does have laundry like in every building. So there'll be 3 stories. And then on the bottom story, there was usually like 2 or 3 washers and 2 or 3 dryers. So I found it wasn't very hard. Some people have problems with it not taking their coins or taking money and not working. I never had a problem with laundry. I would literally go downstairs, go back upstairs, set a timer, and go back downstairs and switch it over. But it definitely is less convenient than having it in your complex where you could just like leave something in the dryer for 6 hours and not worry about someone stealing it. This one could be a pro or con. There is no housing events held at Vista because it is pretty much just buildings. It's buildings, and there's 2 pools, I believe, and like maybe a tennis court or a basketball court or something like that. But there's no really big meeting area. So besides the service center, they don't throw any housing events, things like that at Vista, which is kind of a pro-con. It's a con because you're not there, but it's a pro because it tends to be relatively quiet because there's not ever huge groups of people in the same area. And then lastly, it is the farthest from the other complexes. So if you don't have a car and you have friends that live in Chatham or Patterson or Commons, it is pretty far away. So where if you had a friend who lived in Commons and you lived in Chatham, you could take like a 5-10 minute walk and get there. Vista, you definitely need to take a bus or take an Uber or have a car to get to the other complexes. So that's Vista summed up. Now I'm gonna head on to Chatham. So this year the prices for Chatham range between $112 and $196 a week, which is insane. It is a newer complex. It goes Vista, Commons, Chatham, Patterson, I believe. And because of that, people tend to say that it is nicer. The apartments aren't as old, they aren't as run down, they don't have problems with bugs, things like that. I believe either all or almost all of the buses go here, but because of that, Chatham is the bus hub for Patterson, Commons, and Chatham, and the buses are outside, which I'll talk about in the cons. But all the buses pretty much do come to Chatham. Apartment-wise, the apartments look really big from what I can see. It looks like the bedrooms are really large. The closets seem like relatively big. The living area seems like huge in Chatham compared to most of the other ones. That one's really nice. And most of the apartments also have balconies from what I understand, which is nice because Vista, I was a 2nd story. We didn't have it. 3rd story just has the giant windows. Vista doesn't get balconies though. People say you can walk to Publix, which I never tried, so I'm not sure, but people say it's about a 15-minute walk to Publix, which they really, really liked. If you want actual groceries, it'd be nice to have something close like that compared to Walgreens with Vista, which is just kind of like snacky things for the most part. Now on to the cons. Like I said, some of Chatham is cheaper. There's a 112, which is only $1 more than Vista, but that's for bunk beds, which Chatham has. Chatham has both a 1-bedroom 3-person option and a 2-bedroom 5-person option, both of which have bunk beds. So yes, you're paying less money, but you're also literally sharing a bedroom with 2 other people and you have less storage. My apologies if it's a little bit darker and I'm a little bit different angle. My family came home and I had to go say hi to them, but we're back. So not only do you have bunk beds, but related to bunk beds, it's pretty much the same amount of storage. So where if you didn't have bunk beds, you would have a dresser, a closet, and then your 2 beds like beside each other. If you're in Chatham with bunk beds, you have bunk beds here and 1 bed here, and then still only 1 dresser and then a little bit of under the bed storage, but it's not a lot of storage, especially if you're a longer term person staying there for, you know, 6 months, 9 months, a year. Also with bathrooms, where if you were staying in like a 4-person 2-bedroom in Vista, you'd each get a bathroom. You'll be sharing a bathroom with 3 people if you have bunk beds in Chatham. I can't verify this, but I've heard a few people say this, where Chatham has the least amount of laundry units, where I know in Vista they had in every single building at the bottom, like I said, there was laundry. I heard someone say that in Chatham there was only like 3 main laundry areas and 30 buildings, which is like, I don't want to walk to get laundry, you know? I can't verify this, but I've heard a few people say this, where Chatham has the least amount of laundry units, where I know in Vista they had in every single building at the bottom, like I said, there was laundry. I heard someone say that in Chatham there was only like 3 main laundry areas and 30 buildings, which is like, I don't want to walk to get laundry, you know? So the third one is the Commons. Commons raised from $121 to over $200, which is crazy, and the I keep on saying condoms, why? The Commons is the 2nd oldest apartment. It used to be the CRP, so the International Housing Complex, and now it's just open to everyone. It's kind of in between them, so Vista was down here and Patterson and Chatham are here. Commons is closer to Patterson and Chatham, but still further away from them. The number one that people choose here is the laundry in unit. You have your own washer and dryer inside your apartment, but you are paying for that because it is the most expensive. But if you're someone who does a lot of laundry and never wants to go to costuming, or like me, your costuming was really, really inconvenient and out of the way, might be nice to have laundry inside your unit. Again, just like Vista, the buses are inside the complexes, which I think is really, really handy. With Chatham and Patterson, the buses stop outside, which means you have to show your housing ID every time. I've had people say that doesn't affect them. They don't find it to be a really big deal, but if I've gone to Walmart and I'm carrying like 15 bags, I don't want to put my bag down, grab my housing ID out, take it. They don't need, like, you have to physically take it out of whatever it's in to show them. You can't just like show them in a lanyard. So even sometimes when I would go to Walgreens and have 2 bags, or I'd go to Wendy's and I'd have my hands full, it was like such a pain in the ass at Vista walking back to take it out. So I couldn't imagine if you went and got groceries, how annoying it would be. Commons is nice because it stops inside as well. Commons do seem to have larger kitchens. I think the living area is a little bit smaller, but the kitchens are a little bit more open concept, which is nice. And just like Chatham, they do have balconies too. They also have a meeting area here. So where in Chatham, they have things like service celebration, outdoor things like that. In the Commons, they have grocery bingo, which is really fun, movie nights, character meet and greets. They have like housing meetings if you're international, where they go over all the visa stuff there. They also have the Grid at the Commons, which is like a little convenience store. The milkshakes are apparently amazing there. You can order stuff from like an online catalog, like IKEA type stuff for your rooms, and pick it up there. And you can just get like snacks and things like that, so that's really handy. Because you're kind of far away, you're not really close to Publix and you're not really close to the Walgreens, you have the Grid. And you're also right across from the outlets. Literally across the street is the outlet mall. So super, super handy if you want to get something to eat there as well. They have like food trucks, they have a food court, they have the Disney outlet there if you don't want to buy stuff in the parks and you do get your discount because it's like a Disney store. They have like a Lululemon outlet, a Nike outlet if you need to get shoes for your first week of work. That's where a lot of people go. It's just really handy having the outlet mall there, and it's literally like a 2-minute walk, and then you walk through a parkade and you're there. So then the cons of the Commons. Obviously the price is the number one con. Like I said, you're paying for laundry, you're paying for kind of like a little bit bigger units, I guess, but you are paying for it. It is very, very expensive. Not all of the buses go here. So I'm not sure which one specifically, but I feel like the Walmart bus probably doesn't go here because it doesn't go to very many places. And then I know for sure the Blizzard Beach bus, which is also the Cass Connection and the All-Stars, like the value resorts, I know it doesn't stop at Commons because I had a coworker who used to work at Blizzard Beach, and that's on that route, and it didn't stop at Commons. While the kitchens seem larger, the living areas do seem smaller here. I feel like they're kind of a little bit smaller than Vista too. Chatham seems like the biggest when I look at them, but it feels like you're spending a lot of money for not a lot of room, if that makes sense. And again, you can have bunk beds. So they only have one option. The one option is a 2-bedroom, 5-person, so one of the rooms will have bunk beds. So your chances aren't as high as maybe something like Chatham, but there is still a chance of bunk beds living in commons, and that's a lot of money to pay to have bunk beds. We are on the last one. The fourth and last one is Patterson. My number one favorite thing is that there's cats everywhere, but that's a personal preference, you know? It is the newest unit, so everything is very nice, and there's been less people who have lived there. If you look numbers wise, it's less likely to be run down. It's also a smaller housing complex. A lot of people call it the retirement community of Disney housing. So a lot of older people that don't want the party reputation. There's no events here. It's very, very small, so it is very quiet of a complex and kind of removed. Also, like Chatham, it is closer to Publix, Panera, things like that. It's a little bit more out of the way, but it is very quiet because of that. So kind of a toss-up. From what I've seen, they have relatively big kitchens again, but kind of small pantries. So if you live with a lot of people, that could be a downside for you. This is also not a huge thing, so you only have to go there once, but at least for me, Patterson is where we went to pick up our housing IDs, and they have a very cute little service center and everyone's very nice there. They also have the nicest pool. It is a little bit smaller, but a lot of the pool parties happen at Patterson because they have the newest, nicest pool. Then the downsides of Patterson, the big one is that it has almost no buses that go there. I think the Walmart bus is literally the only bus that goes to Patterson. Anything else, you're going to be going to Chatham and then walking. It isn't a long walk. It's probably between like a 5 and 10 minute walk. But with that being said, a lot of people who work at Disney, people who had programs like me, had a lot of 12-hour, 14-hour days. So after a 14-hour day, getting home at 10:30 at night, I don't really want to walk for 15 minutes in the dark. But that's just me. Also, the units relatively seem kind of small for what you're getting. I've heard that the closets are pretty big for the amount of people, but the units overall look pretty tight. And it is a really high cost. I don't know if I said it actually. I didn't say before, but Patterson is between $119 and $196 this year, so it is a little bit on the higher end cost-wise. But like Chatham, there is chances of bunk beds, so Patterson offers a 1-bedroom, 3-person and a 2-bedroom, 5-person as well. So you do have a higher chance of bunk beds being in Chatham and Patterson than Commons or Vista. So that's kind of my breakdown. I hope that made sense. Kind of my like wrap up thoughts is I really liked living in Vista. I would probably do Vista and Commons would probably be my top 2, but then when you look at cost, it depends how much you work. They do only have to guarantee you 30 hours a week. So if you're paying $150 a week to not have bunk beds and live in Commons, you're only making like $300 a week. It kind of doesn't seem worth it. So I don't know. I feel like for me, a huge thing is not having to get my housing ID out. Having buses that go to the complex and stop inside the complex, I think is the most handy thing in the entire world. If you're driving, honestly, Patterson seems great. Patterson and Chatham will be awesome options if you're driving and you don't mind bunk beds. They are newer units, they're nicer units. Chatham has those events there, which can get loud, but if you don't really care about that and you're further away, it's not that bad. But if you're someone who's looking to spend money, you don't have a car, Vista's honestly probably the best option. Vista or Chatham. But I think unless you're someone who's used to living like a really bougie life, if you've ever lived in like an old apartment or your parents' house that's not brand new, Vista's not that run down, it's not that bad, and I found the bus is really convenient. So yeah, that kind of sums that up. I hope that gave some more information on some of these. Like I said, I'll have links to at least one type of tour from every complex down below from other creators for you to take a look at. Please subscribe. I'm heading back this summer. I don't know where I'm gonna live. I don't know my location yet. I just know I'm going back there. So if you want to follow along, please subscribe to me. All my links to everything else are down below if you want to hit me up on Instagram, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye.